A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a series of heated demonstrations across the United Kingdom, protesters and police clashed as public sentiment over the housing of asylum seekers in hotels reached a boiling point. The protests, organized under the slogan Abolish Asylum Syste, took place in major cities including Bristol, Liverpool, London, and various locations in Scotland and Wales. The demonstrators expressed their opposition to the government's use of hotels for housing asylum seekers, citing safety concerns and community impact. In Bristol, tensions escalated when mounted police were deployed to separate rival groups gathered in Castle Park. Protesters from the anti-asylum group faced off against counter-demonstrators from the Stand Up to Racism movement. Reports indicate that a 37-year-old woman was arrested for allegedly assaulting an emergency worker during the scuffles. Avon and Somerset police reported no severe injuries among officers, highlighting their commitment to facilitating peaceful protests despite the challenging atmosphere. Chief Inspector Keith Smith praised the professionalism of the officers involved, noting, "While there were moments of disturbance, we're pleased to say the two protests have passed without significant incident." The situation in Liverpool mirrored that of Bristol, where a UK Independence Party protest was met with a counter-demonstration. 11 individuals were arrested for various offenses, including being drunk and disorderly and assault. In Horley, around 200 anti-immigration protesters clashed with roughly 50 anti-racism demonstrators. The anti-racism group chanted slogans advocating for refugee rights, while the opposing group hurled insults and accusations of scum at them. Police were forced to create barriers between the two factions to prevent further escalation. 3 arrests were made for breaches of peace. Saturday's events unfolded against the backdrop of a high court ruling that granted a temporary injunction to Epping Forest District Council, preventing asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping, Essex. This decision followed a series of protests outside the hotel after an asylum seeker was charged with attempting to kiss a minor, a charge he denies. In response, the UK government has announced plans to appeal the High Court's ruling, further intensifying the legal and political discourse surrounding the issue. The protests reflect a growing divide in public opinion regarding asylum seekers in the UK. While some communities express fear and opposition to the housing of asylum seekers in their areas, others advocate for compassion and solidarity with those seeking refuge. In Bristol, the local council has indicated it will not challenge the government's decision to use hotels for asylum seekers, despite the protests. In other cities, including Exeter, Tamworth, and Newcastle, similar protests took place, with demonstrators voicing their concerns over the treatment of asylum seekers. In Perth, Scotland, about 150 protesters gathered outside a hotel, while a counter-protest of 200 people unfurled a banner proclaiming "No to Racism" and "Refugees Welcome." The UK government is legally obligated to provide accommodations for asylum seekers to avoid homelessness while their claims are processed. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has stated the government's commitment to closing all asylum hotels, but emphasized the need for a properly managed approach. Recent figures indicate that the number of asylum seekers housed in hotels has reached over 32,000, marking an 8% increase since the Labour government took office, though it remains lower than the peak observed earlier this year. As the protests continue, local authorities are contemplating legal actions to challenge the housing of asylum seekers in their areas. The ongoing debate highlights the complexities of immigration policy and the balance between community safety and humanitarian responsibilities. With more protests planned in the coming days, tensions are likely to remain high as the UK grapples with the contentious issue of asylum accommodation. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.